So in this video, I'm going to show you how to configure your environment variables in Windows. And we're going to look at how do you get there. So there's a couple of different ways that you could find environment variables in Windows. And we're going to look at the difference between user variables and system variables. I mean, fairly self-explanatory, but I'll explain it just in case it's late at night where you are or something. And then we're going to look at GoPath. We're going to look at GoPath, setting the GoPath, right? And how you could copy the path you need to enter from the Windows Explorer. And then also suggestion is to set a path variable to your bin, your binary folder in your workspace. Because when you do that, you can then just run whatever executables you have by just typing in the name of the executable. So that's what's on the docket. That's what we're going to look at. So the easiest way to sort of find environment variables in Windows is just to go to the search box down here and type in environ, right? And here we have edit environment variables for your account, edit environment variables, edit the system environment variables. So let's open each of these and see what happens. I've never actually done this. I wonder if I hold down Control click, only lets me open one. So it took me here to that, right, where I could click environment variables. Let's try that again and see if it lets me open, like, so I did the first one, the system. Now we'll do for the user account. And took me to a totally different place. And this is where I would have ended up with the first one. So this is where you need to edit in user variables, right? Environment variables or system variables. And actually this isn't so obvious. And so I didn't mean it to sound like, hey, this is totally obvious. But when I was first learning all this stuff, I was a little bit like, well, what's the difference? What's the difference between these two? And I had to have somebody explain to me that, well, here's the environment variables for this user, right? Whatever user's logged in. And if some other user logs in, those variables won't be there. But these system variables are here for every user that logs in. So if many different people are using a computer and like you're living in the dorm or something like that, and you and your roommates are all coding and sharing the same computer, I just can't even imagine that possibility. Imagine if you're coding, you have your own computer. But, you know, everybody can configure their own environment variables for the different environments in which they work. So that's the difference between user variables and system variables. So now, right, we found our way here. We did it by typing in the search box here. You could also do it by right-clicking computer and choosing properties. And then once that comes up, you could choose advanced system settings and then environment variables. And then finally, you're right back here. Alternatively, the last suggestion for all that would be like if you're in some new version of Windows and you can't find it, you just Google how do I find my environment variables, but you should be able to get there with all this information now. So if I want to add a new environment variable, I just click new, I give it a name. That's it. And then I set the path, you know? So if I didn't have this one right here, right, that's going to my workspace. God help me, I've just created work for myself, right? But now I have to set that again to my workspace. And so the name of that's going to be GoPath. GoPath. And GoPath points to your workspace. And I need to open Windows Explorer. And so I need to go find my workspace. And it's right there. And so once I have my workspace right like that, I could click up here and it turns it into the path that I need, right? With all the backslashes and all that stuff. So I'm going to right click that and choose copy. And now that I have that, I could drop that in right here and I could hit OK. So I just set that GoPath variable. And for me, I'm the only one that ever logs in in this computer. So it doesn't matter if it's up here or down there. And there's my GoPath variable. I would also recommend setting a path to your bin. So sometimes a program will ask for you to specifically name the path variable like Go does. It needs it to be named GoPath. And other times you just want a general path variable going somewhere and there's no name for it, right? And so if I just want a general path variable, I put them in here. And if I choose edit, this is like the worst Windows form ever because you now have to copy everything that's in there and then go to some other document, like I'm going to come here, and then I'm going to paste all of that in there. Actually, it's not that much. But sometimes there'll be like tons of stuff, right? So if I looked at my user one, or my system one, I bet I've got a lot of junk in there. So let's edit that one. Copy that. And then come here You know, it's like, okay, now I got to read through all of that stuff and figure out what, what are these different paths and do I need them? And so anyhow, uh, for my user one, just first thing you need to know is to add a new entry into your path variable. You just put in, and if you look really close, you can see it. You put in a semicolon. So if I wanted to add something new, I would add a semicolon right there, like that, and then I could add a new entry. So I already have an entry going to C users TM documents Go code, which is my workspace, and then to the bin folder. That means when I tell the computer to run something, this is one of the paths it'll travel down to see if it could find what I'm asking it to run. So let me illustrate what I mean. I do not have Windows Explorer open, but there's my documents, there's my workspace, and then here is my bin, and I have that hello exe folder in there. I am now going to go to Git shell, and currently, this you could do CD and you could change with a tilde like that, and that changes you into the user account. So if I print working directory, I'm in C users TM, I get LS, and I could see that previously I was in documents, but that's a little shortcut. But right now I'm just in this area right here. I'm nowhere near I'm nowhere near my my Go workspace. However, if I type in hello.exe, right, it totally runs it. And the reason it ran it is because it looked down that path. So, oh, I got to run hello exe. Where is that? And it finally ran down the path where it found it because I have a path set to my bin folder. So that's kind of useful to set a path to your bin folder because then when you compile a program, you can just run it by entering the name of the program. All right, so I think that covered everything. Let's just double check, make sure we got it all. And so basically, configuring path variables in Windows, finding your environment variables, the difference between user variables and system variables, Go path, right, and how we could copy the path from Windows Explorer, and then setting a path variable to your bin. So that is awesome. That is like great awesomeness. And I'm always a little bit surprised when we start doing Go programming, and I have junior and senior computer science students, who are studying this stuff, and I'm like, okay, now we got to configure some path variables, some environment variables. How many people have done this before? And like, a third to two-thirds of the hands in the classroom will grow up. I'm like, what are you guys being taught out here that you're juniors and you never configured path variables? I don't know. But, we all have those holes, right? So I definitely have places where it's like, man, you haven't learned that yet? And, I come across those too. But I don't know. So great. What I'm wanting to convey is you just learned something that's really cool. And not a lot of people know it. And sometimes even people studying computer science for a couple of years haven't figured out this thing. And now you got it. So how awesome is that?